So hello everyone, I'm Spira and this is Spira Yoga Shala, although lately we have not been practicing indoors. We don't have enough space to have a few people in here safely, so right now we're running about six or seven classes outdoors in North Point Park here in Cambridge. And also we are still streaming live online as well. I believe at this point we have 3 online classes as well. And 7 days a week, we have at least 1 class a day. So just as a quick review, this is our 3rd webinar that we've done. And the first webinar we did just with the chair for people who will probably only practice at work or at their desk, or who maybe don't have a yoga mat for whatever reason. The second time that we met, we did a combination of both. We had seated poses in the chair, and then we did some standing poses that you could still manage even if you didn't have a mat. So now we're progressing on to the next stage, which is we're now guessing that you have a mat or you will have a mat. And all of the poses that I do on the mat, or almost all of them, can be done in the chair as well. So if you are a person who does not have a yoga mat and would still like to try a yoga practice from your chair, that video is still online on the Transaction Associates YouTube channel, just so you know that you have access to that. And then the second one, there is not a recording because there were some technical difficulties with that. Today, there should be a recording as well, and I'm doing a backup as well, so we should be good. What we're going to do today is a little bit different also. Instead of doing a full practice, we're doing 2 short practices. And one of them is in the morning, if you'd like a short practice to get your day started. So we'll keep it down around 15 minutes, and then the second practice will be at the end of the day, either after work or in the evening when you're getting ready to unwind and unravel before you get to rest. So to start, we always start with some breath work and a little bit of centering. So we can do that whether you're sitting in a chair or even if you're sitting on your mat right now, that's fine too. You might notice I'm using a block because I'm very short, so make sure that your feet can reach the floor in some way and that you can sit up straight. If you're sitting on your mat, you can be sitting in an easy seat, which is maybe cross-legged, whatever you would prefer, or you can sit with your knees up and your feet flat on the mat as well. So for now, there's nothing special to do. You can do this with your eyes opened or closed, but all we're going to do now is just tune into the breath. It's a little better if your eyes are closed, just to give you a heads up, but also you can look down if you're not able to close your eyes or if you're just not comfortable with that for any reason. So for now, we're just tuning into the breath, and I will ask you to notice your breath. Also notice where the breath is going. When you're breathing, do you notice your chest rising and falling, or do you notice your belly expanding and contracting? Or is it a combination of both? Just notice for now. And now that you have paid attention to that, I'd like to ask you to pay attention to your breath in a different way. So we're going to take a full deep breath, and I want you to place your hands either on your ribs or on your belly, and notice the breath coming in, and it's going to go ahead and go through the chest area first, but see if you can draw it down into the rib area and then into the belly. And that's where your diaphragm is. So if we can get the breath to go all the way into the diaphragm area, this is called diaphragmatic breathing. And this type of breathing is really powerful for lowering stress and anxiety. And a little trick for you is if you can intentionally create your exhalation to be a little bit longer than your inhalation, That's even more effective in bringing the body into relaxation. It stimulates what we call the relaxation response by activating what we call the vagus nerve. It's a lot of brain science behind it, but it's really cool if you want to Google it sometime. So for now, we're just breathing through our diaphragm. Maybe even slowing down the breath a little bit if that's possible for you. You can try it. And if it's not working out, that's okay too. Breathe at a pace that makes you feel comfortable and relaxed. And while you are breathing, I'm going to move my chair so we can move on to the mat. And if you're in a chair, you can still do these poses, most of them, sitting in the chair. And like I said, the video is also available. So we maintain the breath. And let's do a quick check-in with the spine. Just making sure that your spine is straight and long. And if you can imagine, this is something that you can do early in the day, just to get your body warmed up and a little bit energized. So now we will open our eyes if you had them closed. And from here, we're just going to start on hands and knees. And we're going to do what's called cat-cow. So just on hands and knees. This is also called tabletop. And I just want you to have your arms about shoulders width apart and check with your legs. Have your knees about hips width apart. And if your knees don't like to be on the floor, you can just take a little blanket, or on the mat rather, because sometimes people have sensitive knees. So you can just take a little blanket, or you can curl up your mat halfway for this as well. Just know that you have a couple of options here. So from hands and knees, coming into cat-cow, this is how it works. As we inhale, we lift the head and the chest, and we let the belly drop. And that sometimes will cause the pelvis to tilt backwards too, but we don't want to press the pelvis backwards. So we're inhaling and we're looking up. And as we exhale, we start to round the back, letting the chin fall to the chest. Keeping the head and neck nice and loose. And getting a nice stretch in the shoulder blades. And then as the breath comes in again, we move slowly back into cow. So this one is cow with the belly hanging, and cat by rounding the back. And while you do this, I want you to synchronize your breath with your movement, and don't try to match my breath and movement. We're simply going to go back and forth a few times at your own pace. And what this does is this gets the spine warmed up. We want to increase flexibility in the spine. And it also warms up the core of the body. We'll do 2 more rounds. And then we'll pause in a neutral spine, which is basically tabletop and where we started. I'll give you a minute to get to your neutral spine. From here, take your right leg back. Just come to the ball of your foot. And then start to press your heel back. You'll notice you're getting a nice stretch in your calf muscle and probably in your hamstrings too. Your gaze can be just past the mat. And while we practice, we're going to continue that nice deep breathing that we started earlier from the diaphragm. And then we'll take the right leg behind the left and rest it on the outer edge of the foot. And look over the left shoulder. Full deep breaths. Then we'll bring that right leg back to starting. Take a full inhale and exhale here. And then take your left leg back. Again, starting on the ball of the foot, pressing the heel back, get a nice stretch in your calf, and then in your hamstring. You can bring your awareness there too and enjoy. This is a really nice stretch. And then we'll take the left foot behind the right, again resting on the outer edge and just looking over the right shoulder at the foot or at whatever's back there. And then we'll come back. And then we'll warm up the core of the body a little bit by taking the right leg back and up. So it's just level with the rest of the body. This is a balance pose, and it's also going to build a little bit of heat internally. So while you're here, notice your balance, and if you're feeling pretty steady, you can reach forward with the left arm and take a few breaths here. Nice full deep breaths from the diaphragm, and you will notice that it's not as easy as it looks. However, if you are more experienced with yoga, this is the nice part, is we can take all the poses in stages. So if you're a beginner, you can stay here with both arms on the mat. If it feels comfortable, beginner or not, you can take your left arm forward. If you are more experienced and this feels too easy, you can bend your right leg and reach back, take your foot or ankle, and lift them both up. Again, full deep breaths. Just notice which muscles are working here to help you stay steady and balanced. And if you did take the foot or the ankle, you can release and then reach forward again. And then we'll all let go and come back to the original pose. We'll take a full breath here, inhale and exhale. And then we'll take the left leg back. So the left leg is now even with the body, and again, if this feels comfortable and you can take a step further, go ahead and take your right arm forward. Reaching forward, gaze is forward, and again, if this is easy, bend the left knee, reach back, take the foot or ankle. Full deep breaths. Release the ankle or foot, reach forward one more time. And then release and come back to the mat. From here, we're going to curl the toes under, reach up and back with the hips. We're coming into what we call downward facing dog. This is a very common pose. A lot of people know this pose, or at least have heard of it. So the right way to do this is to start with bent knees. And with the bent knees, then you can press the hips up and back because the stretch is going to happen along the spine. What you want to do is create a single straight line from the hips through the upper body and through the arms. So if the knees have to be bent for that, that's fine because the stretch is for the back and not the legs. Then you can try bringing the legs towards straight. But if you notice too much strain in the legs, then let it go. Full deep breaths. And then slowly we're going to walk our feet towards our hands. Keep the feet hips width apart. Bring your hands to the front of the shins and slowly walk the arms up. From here, we're just going to stand in what we call mountain pose. So we're just standing with the feet hips width apart. Arms are by your sides. Feel your feet. Notice the feet pressing into the mat. This is a nice way to get grounded. On your next inhale, we're going to inhale the arms up overhead till they touch. And then we'll exhale and fold forward, hinging at the hips. You can either swan dive or have the arms in front. Your preference, doesn't matter. Then we'll inhale halfway up. You can bring your hands to your shins if you need to, but you're only going to come up as far as it feels. You can feel your back is flat. And then we'll exhale and fold again a little deeper. And then we'll inhale and come all the way up to standing. You can put a little micro bend in your knees as you do that. And then exhale, hands in front of the heart. Let's do that again. We'll inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, fold, hinging at the hips. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold. Then inhale all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands in front of the heart. Great. Easy so far, right? So we'll just do a couple more because we're just trying to wake up for now, right? So from here, we'll inhale the arms up overhead again. This time, grab your wrists with one hand. So I'm taking my left wrist with my right hand. You might decide to do the same, or if you're mirroring me, it'll be the opposite. And then I'm leaning towards the right because I used my right arm to take my left hand. Press your feet into the mat to keep your body steady. And you get even a little more stretch here, which is nice. And then we'll inhale back to center and switch sides. As you exhale, we'll just lean over to the other side. And then again, inhale back to center. Exhale, hands in front of the heart. From here, we'll take a wider stance. And then we'll turn the left foot out and the right foot in. The right foot is about 45-degree angle, and we're going to bend into that front leg. So I'm sure if you've done yoga, you know what's coming next. This is warrior two, okay? And you might even adjust your stance as you go. The goal here is to get that knee above the ankle so that the shin bone is perpendicular to the earth. And then we just reach forward. And your gaze can be over the middle finger of the left hand. Also think about pressing into the mat through the outer edge of the back foot. That will keep all the weight. You might feel like there's too much weight on that front leg. That will help with that. And it'll give your body buoyancy, so you're not sinking in, but just standing strong. That's why it's called warrior. And then we'll straighten the front leg, swing both arms up and over. A little bit of a back bend here. Then we'll inhale up and over again. This time we're going to come forward just a few inches and come into what I call half triangle. Triangle, normally people reach all the way down, but this is actually a little safer for your low back, for your sacrum specifically, because it doesn't stretch the ligaments as much. And normally in triangle, we gaze up towards the sky. But if it bothers your neck for any reason, you can have your head looking forward or even down. One more time, we'll inhale and press up and around. Turn both feet to the front. Clasp your hands behind your back. If you can't clasp your hands, you can just reach back, okay? If you can, you'll clasp the hands, lift the chest and straighten the arms and then fold forward. You can keep the knees bent here. Let the head hang down. Take some deep breaths. Bring your hands to the low back and then to the waist and come up halfway. On your next breath, we'll press all the way up to standing. The reason I take 2 breaths for that is because if you have low blood pressure, you might get dizzy coming up too fast. Now we're going to switch to the other side. We're going to take the right foot out and then the left foot comes in a little and we come right into that warrior two again. So settle into it, see how it feels. Press into that back foot. Arms are strong. Gaze is past the middle finger of the right hand. If you tend to hike up your shoulders, you can simply flip your palms and flip them back. That usually moves the shoulder blades down the back again. Don't forget the diaphragmatic breathing. Then we'll inhale and straighten that front leg, swing both arms up and over into a little bit of a back bend, reach back. And then once again, inhale, reach up and over. We'll come forward just a few inches and come into that triangle on the other side. So again, the gaze can be up and your hand can be on the inside leg. So this is a little harder for the abdominals, but you can do it. And then once again, we'll inhale up and over, turn both towards the front, bring hands in front of the heart, and just simply come to standing. Close your eyes. And release your arms by your side. And just notice how you feel. From here, we'll pause. And we're going to go back to Julie because I think she has a poll question. And we'll take a little break and then we'll do the second half. Yes, it's good any time of day, but those particular poses can be energizing. So we do them, it's great to do in the morning. No, that's a personal preference. Some people swear by getting up at 5 a.m. and doing their yoga. Some people swear by doing it right before bed. I would say go with what your body wants. That's really great. Okay, so I guess what I can add to that is, yes, there's a lot of on-demand right now that you can sign up for, and then also all of the local yoga studios are also offering live streaming yoga, myself included. We have classes on Zoom. And also some yoga studios, like mine, we also post videos on YouTube as well. I do have a bunch of free videos if you want to try it out. I think most of the videos I have posted currently are very easy and for beginners. I think I only have one moderate session, but there will be more coming up. But yeah, like I said, we are offering outdoors as well as on-demand live streaming. So switching from earlier in the day to later in the day, as I said, most yoga poses can be done anytime, but there are definitely some that we like to do a little bit more for relaxation than for energizing. And when I teach my easy, gentle classes at night, which is one of my favorite classes to teach, we don't even get up off the mat. A lot of people have the misconception that yoga is often this standing up routine, a lot of this movement and flow. And I'm going to show you that that's not necessarily the truth. So in traditional yoga, we actually don't even get up off the mat. So we're going to do a really easy session here that'll help you experience the unwinding effects that yoga could have. So again, we'll start in an easy seat, and if you're in a chair, you're fine. If you're sitting on the floor, you can either sit with legs crossed, or you can take one heel in front of the next. You can also sit on a blanket if you have one handy, if you happen to be at home. You'll notice in yoga studios, they often tell us to sit on a blanket, and the reason for that is for people who have tight hamstrings, like myself. It just makes it easier so that your pelvis doesn't tilt backwards as you're trying to fold forward. So once again, we're just sitting up in a nice easy seat, and again, just bringing awareness to the breath. We won't spend as much time on it because I know that you're probably already breathing pretty relaxed by now. You might still be doing your diaphragmatic breathing, and that's wonderful. So let's go into that. Let's just start with the diaphragmatic breath. You can place your hands on your belly if you'd like, just to help you focus the breath a little bit better. I'll just take a few inhales and exhales here. So as you inhale, again, lifting the crown of the head and just lengthening the spine. And then as you exhale, just let your head fall over to one side. We'll get a little neck stretch here. Again, full diaphragmatic breathing. Eyes can be opened or closed. And then we'll inhale back to center. And then we'll exhale over to the other side. So you just want to feel like your ear is parallel with your shoulder. It probably isn't, but that's the feeling we're going for. And I just want to remind you that yoga is not what something looks like, but what it feels like. Inhale back to center. So if you don't feel like you look like I look doing this practice, please don't worry about that or let that be a concern. If you're feeling the stretch, you're in the pose. So again, we'll inhale and center. And then as you exhale, let your head fall forward so the chin comes to your chest. Full deep breaths. And next we're going to do some neck rolls, but we do not roll all the way back. We roll side to side. So as you inhale, go ahead and turn your head and allow it to roll over to one side all the way up until again it feels like your ear is parallel with your shoulder. And then as you exhale, you'll turn and look down and let your head gently roll back to center. On your next inhale, you'll just roll up the other side. And then look down, exhale, back to center. We'll do a couple more of these, so we'll inhale over to one side. Feel free to go at your own pace. Again, don't try to keep up with me because I might be too fast or too slow for you. And then inhaling up the other side. Exhaling back to center. Inhaling up the first side again. Exhaling back to center. And then exhaling. And exhaling back to center. I think I said exhaling twice, please forgive me. And then we'll inhale back up again. We're going to take the hands and with tented fingers, bring them to the mat in front of you. This is called potted palm. All we're going to do here is create a little bit of length in the spine. So simply walk the arms forward until you feel like your hips are about to come off of the mat. And when you get to that spot, press the hips back down and you'll feel some length in the spine. If you can go further, but I wanted to pause early on to illustrate that you don't have to go all the way down towards the floor because again, this is about how it feels for you and not how it looks or what it looks like. As long as you're feeling a little bit of traction in your spine, you're doing it right. Slow, full deep breaths from the diaphragm. And then we'll slowly walk our way back up and back up to sitting. Inhale the right arm up and exhale, cross over the knee and twist and look over the left shoulder. And the arm behind you, again, you can be on tented fingers or flat. It's basically you press the arm into the mat to help you lift the chest and keep a straight spine. On your next exhale, we'll come back towards the front. Then we'll inhale the opposite arm up. Exhale, cross the other knee and turn and look over the shoulder. Inhale, lift the chest slightly and then twist as you exhale. Full deep breaths from the diaphragm. And then on your next exhale, whenever that is, we'll slowly turn back towards the front. So we're going to do cat-cow again, but we won't do it as much. I just want to show you that you can do that from a seated position. And cat-cow is great for any time of the day. Again, it creates flexibility and movement in the spine, which is what we want. And no matter what our age is chronologically, we are only as young as our spines. So just try to keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons we practice. So we'll keep the hands on the shins and we'll inhale, leading again with the head and the chest. We're inhaling forward and up and exhaling and rounding the back and let the chin come to chest again. Again, inhaling, leading forward and up. And exhaling, chin to chest. So we're creating an undulation in the spine. Go at your own pace. Synchronize your breath with your movement. Inhaling forward and up. This will be our last one. And then exhaling, chin to chest. And then back to a neutral spine. From here, we're going to take our spine in circles. So this is really easy. We're simply going to, again, lead with the head, come around, and then maybe even grab your legs as you come back with the chin to the chest. And then again, press forward. You can press into your legs with leverage if you'd like. And then exhaling as you go back. So again, we're just trying to get some undulation in the spine, getting it to move in different directions. Let's pause and change direction. And this is the center of our body, so we want to make sure that we stay limber here especially. And then we'll pause once more. Let's uncross the legs and take them in front. Keep them about hips width apart. You can still be sitting on your blanket. It's a really good idea if you are. And point the toes. So now we're flexing the feet. Okay, so this is a forward fold, but it's an active pose. It's not something where you let your legs go limp. In order for this pose to work effectively, we keep the feet flexed. The other thing is that if you have tight hamstrings, you can place something underneath your knees. I recommend a rolled up towel or blanket, but if you don't have anything like that around, but you have blocks, you can even put the corner of the block underneath your knee. Okay, so I highly recommend this, especially if you have any low back issues whatsoever. Always keep the knees bent. And if you don't have anything, just be intentional about keeping them bent, right? So let's inhale the arms up overhead, reach up, and then exhale and fold forward. Now your hands may not land at your feet. Your hands might land here, and that's your fold. Again, think about how it feels and not how it looks. And we don't want to round the back too much, so just try to keep the back straight and only go as far as you can comfortably go. And we'll take a few breaths here. And then slowly walk back up. And then we'll take the right leg out and bring the left leg in. Again, the same rule applies. That foot stays flexed and something can go under the knee if you need it to. From here, we inhale the arms up. Then we turn towards the extended leg and then we fold forward. And again, wherever the hands land, they land. You can also, if you'd like, maybe use a block so that you can touch your forehead onto the block. So if you can rest your forehead on something, that also helps you to relax a little bit more. And then slowly we'll make our way up. Bring that right leg in, take the left leg out. Once again, we inhale up, turn toward the extended leg, and then exhale and fold forward, keeping that knee bent a little bit. Make it a little easier for yourself. Full deep breaths. Don't forget the diaphragmatic breathing. And then we'll slowly make our way up. Now, one thing I'm going to throw in just for fun is an abdominal piece because, again, to maintain spinal health, we need to keep the core muscles strong so that we can keep a healthy back. So what we'll do is bring the hands underneath the thighs and take the legs up. We did this in the first session or the second in the chair. So now we're doing it here from the floor, okay? Now you can stay here and breathe if this is hard enough. And if this is too much, actually just keep your hands under your legs and lean back. So this would be a great beginner's first step. And then you can take the legs up if you've gotten the first step down. Now, if you want to go a little further, you can just release the hands. And if you want to go even further, then you can straighten the legs and lean back. Keep the chest lifted. Try not to hunch. And then we take a few breaths. And then slowly release. Bring your feet back to the mat. I'm going to slide off my blanket and we're going to come onto our backs because, again, this is a short practice just to give you an example of what kinds of things we do to wind down And so we'll get on our back. Knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor. And bring your feet in towards the hips. And then you'll press your feet into the mat and lift the pelvis up off the mat. And this is bridge pose. So we'll take a couple of breaths here. Again, try to maintain that full deep breathing. And to come down, on your next exhale, you're going to come down one vertebrae at a time, from the neck all the way down. You'll notice as you get towards the lower part of the spine that you actually have to tilt your pelvis in order to maintain that one vertebrae at a time. It's a little bit challenging, so you want to take your time doing that. And then we'll inhale back up again. It's a little easier to go up. Hold this for a couple of breaths, 3 actually. And on your next exhale again, let's try to lower one vertebrae at a time and come back to the mat. And then we'll hug our knees into the chest and give yourself a little rock, a little side to side. And then bring your feet back to the mat. I'm going to show you this great move. It's not even a traditional yoga pose, but it's wonderful for the low back. So you'll walk the legs forward a little bit, maybe even widen them, maybe even as wide as the mat, up to you. You can actually experiment with this a little bit. And you'll simply let your knees fall over to one side. So easy. And then the other. And we'll go back and forth a couple of times. More than a couple, because it feels really good. So it's a great way to reset the low back. You could do this in the morning, you can do this at night, any time of day. It's really easy. You can go faster, you can go slower. Again, this isn't a workout, right? This is a work in. So what we want to do is bring our awareness into our body to notice what's happening. And our body will let us know what we like and what we don't like. From here, let's come back to center. Let's take the left leg out and bring the right leg in. Maybe even interlace fingers and grab the shin. Full deep breaths. And then release the right leg and we'll switch sides. So we'll take the right leg out in front, bring the left leg in. Just pull it in towards the chest. And if you want to give yourself a little bonus, this is a nice pose to release the psoas muscle and to stretch it on the right side and to release it on the left side. If you want to increase that stretch, one of the things you can do is place a block underneath your sacrum and then do that again, where you take the left leg out, bring the right leg in, and then the opposite side. And you'll notice that when you add a block underneath, it'll be much more intense in the front of the hip. And that's actually a good thing. Well, we don't want pain, but we do, a little intensity is okay. The psoas muscle is a muscle that gets shortened when we're sitting in chairs a lot. So that is definitely a muscle we want to pay attention to. So go ahead and come back to our original pose. And again, we wanted to keep this short, so I'm just going to have you we'll add one more, and we'll do a shavasana. So we're going to take the right foot onto the top of the left thigh. Now I'm taking my left arm to the top of the knee and just gently rolling over to the left. Keep your shoulder blades on the mat. Your right arm can be out by your side. You may not twist far, you may only come this far. That's completely fine. Remember what I said about how it feels versus how it looks. Your gaze can either be up at the ceiling at this point, or if it doesn't bother your neck at all, you can just look over the right shoulder. Or over to the right, rather. Full deep breaths. Maintain that diaphragmatic breath. And then we'll slowly release and come back to center. Prepare to switch sides. We'll take the right leg out and bring the left foot to the right thigh. Right hand to the knee and gently roll over to the right this time. And your left arm can be out by your side. Gaze can be up at the ceiling or over the left shoulder. Try it out. If it doesn't feel good, you can just turn your head back to center again. Full deep diaphragmatic breaths here. On your next exhale, we'll slowly come back to center. Bring your knees into your chest one more time. Hug the knees and give yourself another little rock, a little side to side. And then we'll come into I'll do a short Shavasana with you so you get to experience it in case you haven't before. You're going to bring your legs out in front of you, arms by your sides with your palms facing up. From here, your eyes can be closed. It's probably better if they're closed. We can turn off any external visual stimulation. And now you can let go of the diaphragmatic breathing. While you're laying on your back, another alternative, if you don't want your hands by your sides, you can even place a hand over your heart and one over your belly. And from here, we're just going to relax. This is the easiest pose of all. Let your feet and your legs feel nice and heavy and just kind of sinking into the mat, knowing that you're fully supported. You have the mat beneath you, you have the floor beneath that, and the ground beneath that. So go ahead and allow your legs to relax. Again, this is a shortened version. I usually take a few minutes for this, so please forgive me and don't feel rushed. Just allow yourself to rest. No more diaphragmatic breathing. Just feel your belly moving naturally with the natural rise and fall of your breath. Notice your sacrum on the mat. Allow your hips to feel heavy and relaxed. Soften your belly. And soften your shoulder blades. Relax the area around the heart. Relax the neck. Release the jaw. And release the tongue if it's stuck to the roof of the mouth. Soften the muscles of the face, the muscles of the cheeks, around the eyes and between the eyes. And we'll rest for 1 minute. Now we'll begin to bring awareness back into the body. And again, we can just take a full deep breath, maybe even wiggle fingers and toes, just to slowly wake everything back up again. And take your time coming up, but I'll give you the normal instruction. Again, this is extended a little bit, but you can bring your feet to the mat by bending the knees and just rolling over to one side. You can linger here a moment if you'd like, otherwise we will make our way back up to sitting and we'll close the practice. And if you were able to get on your mat and do the whole thing, that's wonderful, and thank you for joining me. And I will share with you my favorite metta meditation. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. Namaste. over to you, Julie.